Hi, good morning. Today is June 15th, 2025, and it's 10:23 a.m. Central Time, US. First of all, happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. I hope you get to spend time with your children and enjoy the Father's Day. So today, I wanted to do kind of a special session. Let's call it, and it has two components. One that is hyperlocal, and a component that is more of a global scope. And I'm probably going to split the two components into two different parts. To begin, I would like to give a quick intro of something that the pipeline picked up. It could be something significant. And I've been thinking about whether to mention it or not. And either way, it could have pros and cons. So at the end, I lean towards mentioning it. So I'll say it. So in the last two runs of the pipeline, so the last few days, the last week, because I think I've done two runs in a week, the pipeline picked up a series of potential agents that are very strange, meaning that they don't get, and sorry if I'm thinking what to say, it's just that I don't want to give away crucial pieces of the technology, obviously. So I'm trying to see how I frame it, and this demo is not scripted. So basically, let's put it this way. The system, the pipeline, the spy head pipeline picks up that this small set of agents, it's a small set of agents, the confidence that they're not regular people, that they're intelligence officers is very high, very high. Saturated, the scores are all saturated. But they don't get tagged with any of the usual intelligence services tags that the system handles, like FSB or SEBIN, the Venezuelan intelligence, or the Cuban intelligence. Like, they don't get classified by the system as any of these intelligence services. So of course, I'm in this alone, and I have to consider what are the possibilities, what are the possible explanations of this, right? So of course, it could be the real law enforcement that somehow one of these videos got to them, got their attention, and somebody's looking, right? Could be, and I hope that's the case. But it also could be that it's another third-party actor joining Katy, right? Seeing what they can get, right? And that could be dangerous for national security. And of course, I can't, right? I can't guess because the pipeline doesn't classify them as anything. It's the set of agents that I'm pretty sure are agents, but I don't know where they're from. So that's just kind of concerning, right? Because it could be a third-party actor. And recently I posted a video in which I proposed, I think it was on Friday night, in which Friday the 13th, I proposed a precision experiment using a conflict that was already ongoing, like data from that conflict. It could be used to verify the precision of the system or to measure it or estimate it. So it could be related to that. But the curious thing is that, so yesterday when I run the videos that I had in process, yeah, that could be right, because there were more agents in the more. So when I went to the other house, because of this, my system, I run it on the cloud, and when I did the run yesterday morning, there were more agents that fall into this category that there were before Friday. So that could be the case. I don't know. I really don't. I don't think it's healthy to speculate in these kind of things, but it's possible. So that's what I thought I should mention it, because if that's the case, I should mention it. It could be a national security threat in the form of, obviously there is technology at play, right? In this counterintelligence technology that I've developed that could be stolen, right? Could be stolen, or they could do something, right, to me, to avoid the technology to get into the good guys. So anyhow, I thought I should mention that. So there's obviously a change in conditions in the environment. That's what I'm trying to say. And I also see that the conditions are changing, not only because of that observation of this set of agents that are unclassifiable, basically. Mysterious agents, I call them. Not only because of that, but also because I've seen, I'm via technology, right, and observations, I'm seeing that the countermeasures of the East, as I call them, the PayPal mafia, are changing as well dramatically in the last few days. So that, of course, requires me to also adjust my behavior in a way, right, and adjust my measures and my actions. So that's why So I'm saying all this to say that I'm going to probably make some adjustments, and this video is part of that. Let's talk a little bit about the change in conditions that I'm seeing. So one thing that I saw, and this is purely observational, is that so on the 13th, on June 13th, Friday, and I know the date because this was noted in the notice. But basically, somebody came to my house at Lake Point Estates, Britton Ridge Drive. The person trespassed the property lines again. Like they at this point they are just ignoring, obviously, right? All these private couriers that they sent to my home to harass me in a way, right? So this is what the person did, and I'm just mentioning this just because it could be important, right? So the person trespassed and left a lot of these little notices saying you missed the package. But what's interesting is where the person left them. Usually these people leave one notice, right, in the door or a window or something, right? My house is kind of locked. I have a lock in the gate, so nobody can really get to the door. There's a buffer zone right between this gate and the door, like it's about 30 feet. They left one note there. They left one note in my car, in the window of a car that I have, the Tesla that I have banned from the garage, so I have parked it outside. They left a note in the car, in the window. They also left a note in the garage door. And interestingly, they left a note on top of the camera. So one of the security cameras that I use to avoid eavesdropping, they put a note on top of the camera, like blocking the lens of the camera. And so basically, but if you look at the map, and I'm not going to do that to save time, but if you look at the map, they basically left notes in all the perimeter of the front yard. And yeah, this is interesting to me. It's an overkill for this, right? So I think what they're doing really is that they're scanning to see where the bugs that I have discovered and gathered are stored. And they want to locate the bugs. I don't know if they plan to break in to steal the bugs. I don't know. This is evidence, right? Like I have a lot of evidence. And they don't know if the bugs are in that house or in this house, right? So they're trying to locate where the bugs are. I think they're trying to recover them. That's my theory. Of course, I can't prove it, but it seems up to me that they did all this, they leaving all these notes. Like basically, they wanted an excuse for the person to walk around the house to measure things, right, with a phone or with some kind of an electronic device. So that's what I think. But of course, I wasn't home. I was in this other house, so I didn't get the package that they sent me, right? So I went to the house yesterday to do some things that I needed to do in that house. And as I was doing that, and I was using at that moment the clone plus relay system that I invented, and that this is described in the Counterintelligence journal at www.spyhell.org. What that means, but it's a technology I created that basically makes the eavesdropping that they do on cell phones impossible, right? And I think they're dying to know how it works. So anyhow, yesterday I was at that house in Lake Point Estates, and I was using that system, and a person immediately came, another one of these private couriers that they use to harass their targets. And the person basically did a combination of all the harassment things that they've done with these couriers before, like the person trespassed, banged on the windows and the doors, in the same way that this woman that I believe is the wife of Philippe Denning or somebody related to Philippe Denning did once. And there's a video on YouTube that I posted about that incident. So basically they combined like all the harassment techniques at the same time. And so I came out, right? And the person was there to supposedly to serve me with legal documents, which is good. Anyhow, I get the documents, right? And I read it. It's basically a lawsuit from the same attorneys that you hire to send when Phil Denning sent the Kroger pharmacy man to my house to harass me and potentially harm me. So those same attorneys. Let me share my screen 1 second. That would be, let me show you. Yeah, so this is one of the notices I left in my car. This is the other notice. And this is the, yeah, so Roberts, Markell, Weinberg, Butler, Haley, PC. Hard name, right? Like hard to remember name, maybe by design. So this is what I say. So this is one of the changes in conditions that I see. So anyhow, they serve me with these papers, and if you can see here, right on the prayers on the point number 4, they're asking for civil damages for the amount of $3,000. And I'm very respectful of money in the sense that I know that $3,000 is a lot of money, right, in reality, in the real world, and for a lot of people. But this is nothing to them, right? So I really see this as backpedaling. What they're doing here, I think, is something happened, right? And they decided that they have to backpedal. So what they did is that they created this lawsuit that looks like a regular lawsuit, a lawsuit of an HOA. Just when this goes to trial, and I claim that they're harassing me with this law firm, they're going to say, no, this is a real, regular $3,000 lawsuit. This is nothing, right? This is not harassment. And this has nothing to do with a Kroger pharmacy man, and you're just imagining those things. And this is important because remember, the Kroger pharmacy man was clustered by the pipeline, by this Hell pipeline with Robert Mueller, who lives 200 feet away from my house and who was a former FBI director, former CIA director, and also he was the head of an investigative inquiry on foreign intelligence related to Russia. So I think they're desperately trying to make this lawsuit look organic. And I think that's what this is. But I'm bringing it up, and this, to me, this is noise. That's why I only scanned the last page. I didn't scan the whole thing. This is just noise. But it's interesting because there's a few things that can be seen here, and I'm just going to mention them quickly in case law enforcement looks at this. One is that the affidavit of the person filing the lawsuit was signed and dated May 27th. So more than, I don't know, 18 days ago. And the timing here could be telling, right? So what the question I have to look back at my records and try to figure out what happened around May 27 that made them think that they may have to backpedal. Like something happened, right? And they thought maybe we'll have to drop this lawsuit at some point or to make it look organic. They can drop it because if they drop it, then they're saying, yes, you were right. So they have to make it look organic. That's the only option. But something must have happened around May 27 that made them take that step. But now they took the step, they signed the affidavit and they filed the thing and all that, but they didn't really serve me until yesterday, yesterday, but they tried on the 13th, on Friday. So that tells me that something happened on Friday that made them say, yes, we have to take this route, definitely. So what happened on Friday was two things, right? One, I posted a couple of interesting videos on Friday, right? Naming the Zara Cabello and the lawsuit and everything, and the legal harassment. And the other one was that video where I was proposing a precision experiment using the already ongoing conflict in Israel and Iran and those places. So it could be related to that, right? It could be related that they're seeing that it's likely to escalate to other areas that they don't control, like public opinion. And now they're backpedaling. But also, I want to say, and I'm sure there's no need for me to say this. I'm sure law enforcement agencies would probably do this 100 times better. But it's easy to demonstrate that this is not organic. All I would have to do is to look at previous lawsuits involving Roberts, Markle, Weinberg, Butler, Haley, PC, and look for how many lawsuits there have been in the last year for an amount of $3,000 or between $3,000 and $5,000. I bet you none. I haven't done the exercise, but I bet you there are not many, if there are any. And the reason is because this is a law firm that does businesses with governments, like with the Chinese government, with the Venezuelan government. The partners of this firm for $3,000, they don't get up in the morning for $3,000. And filing this lawsuit to recover $3,000. So what? If the lawsuit itself is $3,000, how much are the attorney fees on this? It's obvious that this is not organic. Anyhow, that's one of the things that tells me that the dynamics are changing dramatically. On their side, they're changing their tactics and they're changing their actions and they're adjusting and I think they're foreseeing a situation that is going to be difficult. It feels more like crisis management to me than at this point what they're doing than a real battle. It's just they're managing a crisis at this point. So that's that. So now that we're talking about these attorneys, I have to say, I sent them an aiding and abetting notice, and I CC'd Ken Paxton on it, the Attorney General of Texas. And yes, and this is in my Google Drive. If authorities ever look at this. Oh, and this is interesting. This is a letter in which I was claiming prisoner of war status with the embassies of the presidents that are orchestrating all this. And I sent this even to the United Nations, right? I imagine they blocked it with the gatekeeper algorithm, right? Like the algorithm, like the same thing with the clerks and all that. I'm sure that they managed to block it at the United Nations. But I mention it, right? Because if law enforcement ever looks at this, I'm guessing, right? It doesn't matter if they blocked it at the gatekeeper. I imagine the real law enforcement wouldn't let the bad guys win, right? By blocking and obstructing justice. So I'm hoping that I do get that status. Okay. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, yeah, so maybe this is a good segue to, well, but basically to kind of drive that point home, there's a change in conditions that the pipeline is picking up about the environment, and there's a change in conditions in what the pipeline and myself observationally, we are both picking up about how they're behaving, right, and how they're acting. And the other change that the pipeline picked up, and this might be important, is that in the last 2 times that I've gone out, they seem to have switched the agents, meaning it's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they completely swapped the agents. Before, every time I went out, they could have, say, I don't know, 80 to 150 agents following me per hour, wherever I drove or wherever I went. And those agents are mostly Venezuelans from the SEBIN, the Venezuelan Intelligence Services, I think. The rest were Chinese and some Iranians and Arabic people and some Indians and Russians, of course, and Chinese and Cubans. But in the last few days, they've changed the demographics completely. Like they switch all the agents, and now it's all Caucasian people, personnel, like white, very white people, and mostly African Americans. And I think the proportion that the pipeline, the filters on this are not very good because, for example, when somebody's white, you can only tell that they're Caucasian, but you cannot really tell if they're Eastern European or. So the precision is not very good, but the split is about something like 70% Caucasian and 30% African American. That's the proportions that they're using the last 2 times I've gone out. And it's interesting, right? Because it's such a dramatic switch from the demographics they were using before, which was like 80% Venezuelan, to now this, right? It's like I know the town hasn't changed. It's just the agents that they have following me change, right? But if you look from the perspective of the system, it looks like this is a completely different town, right? Like the demographics are completely different. So it's impressive that they have that kind of coordination, but also silly, right? Because it just makes it more obvious. So that's the other changing condition that could be interesting. This is a good segue to talk about my motivation for doing all this. I mean, for documenting these things and for creating these YouTube channels and making these explainer videos. I think it's important that I state what is my goal. My goal is simple. All I'm trying to do is apply all my expertise in software development and the things that I've observed and package them in a way that creates a product, right? And this product is intended to reduce the investigative timeline of the real authorities, right? That's my goal, right? That's my hope, my aspirational goal. I don't know if authorities would look at all this and say, yes, this is valuable, we'll use it. Or if they would look at it and say, we have our own process, we don't want to look at this, right? And discard it. But I have to try. I have to try doing it. But that's my goal. My goal is not revenge or personal grievances or anything like that. My goal is to help authorities do what they will probably have to do, but do it in a shorter period of time than if they did it from zero, from scratch. And the reason I'm doing this is because these people have held hostage the world for 25 years plus. And I know how investigations work. I follow the news, and something of this scale could take years to investigate and to prosecute. So that means that these people will keep holding the world hostage for another 5 years, right? And if you think about of the time span of a human life, the adult life of a human being these days, right? Could be what, 50 years? From the time you're 18 to the time you die, it could be 60, 70 years. If they're going to take 30, right, in total, end to end, holding the world hostage, I think that is a tremendous waste of human life and energy, right? So my goal is to reduce that, right? So when authorities someday look into all this, they can pick up from where I am right now and do this in a very short period of time or a shorter period of time than they would if they had to start from zero, right? That's my goal. So with that goal in mind, from the first day I started documenting this by recommendation of Nelson Lara, ironically, right? He was the person who recommended me to document everything. But the moment he recommended that, because I saw him as a mentor, ironically as well, I followed his advice to the dot, and I started documenting everything. But from that moment, I started doing it with an attention to detail and always thinking, how could I do this so when a real investigator comes in and gets this, they first understand what it is, and secondly, can parse the information and process it very quickly. All the steps I took in the documentation side of things were aimed at that goal from day zero. Right? So I want to do a quick walk through some important links that will help probably investigators parse things faster. So I put some of the more important links in the channel, in this channel, where I'm going to post this video, which is rapid fire tips for law enforcement. Now, this is also important to mention. So I have 3 channels in reality. One is called Spy Hell Official, and then rapid fire tips for law enforcement, and then I have the Call Mobile Raw. I'll explain why I have 3 channels, right? It's not that I want to become a YouTuber or anything like that. It's because I recognize that as I try to communicate all this information that I've gathered, I have different audiences with different capabilities in terms of parsing this information, with different backgrounds, with different demographics, and the split and the distribution of those demographics are very different. And so I realized I have three audiences basically. So one audience I think is going to be law enforcement and journalists and people that work in the judiciary systems, right? Real judges and real clerks and real paralegals and real attorneys, right? Not the ones controlled by the network, but like the real ones. That's one audience, and that's why I created rapid fire tips for law enforcement to cater to that audience. I also have a second audience, which are citizens, right? I put the first audience as first audience law enforcement group because I think that's the demographic, that's the set of people that can make a difference, right? That have, because if you think about it, like law enforcement and really the use of power, like the use of coercive power in society, is a monopoly held by governments, right? So the only group of people that can really do anything about this is law enforcement because they have the monopoly on the use of force. So that's why I put them first, not because they're more important than the group of citizens, which is my second audience. So these are regular citizens of different countries that are being damaged or enslaved even by this network. And for them, I created a series of videos that are more like cinematic videos, like they look like movie trailers. But each video explains a key concept of this network. And my hope is that this makes the content first easier to consume by this demographic and also more shareable. Like they would communicate with each other and share with each other all this information, right? Which I think at the end is the only way to defeat this with the numbers, because they control 2% of the world population. The only way to defeat this network is to bring awareness of this to the other 98%. In that scenario, even if they control 2% of the population, they can't fight with 98% of the population. So this is also a key component of this battle, awareness of citizens of the free world and also the enslaved world. And my third audience is the agents, right? Because I realized a long time ago that, and that's why I do the data bombs and all that, that one of the key pieces of the technology that they have is that they produce impunity. They give impunity to the agents to commit crimes. And because they're acting as a group and their faces are not visible because they're driving around in these cars with tinted windows and they're using these safe houses that have special blinds that don't let the light go in and you cannot see inside and you never see their faces. So there's an anonymity, right? So it's the combination of anonymity and impunity, what they offer to the agents so they feel comfortable committing the crimes. But the minute the agents perceive that there's liability, that they could be personally liable, if we return the liability to the person, then the dynamic changes. Then they don't feel that comfortable committing crimes. And I've seen this thousands of times, right? So because of that, I created this third channel, which is called Mobile Raw. Sometimes I say call mobile, sometimes I say call mobile. It's one of those, but English is my second language kind of thing. But so these are videos that I'm posting that are raw videos from the call mobile. And this is a photo of the call mobile, the version 3. This is the one I'm driving right now. I took some creative liberties with the sticker that says XisList.org. I haven't installed that sticker yet. I haven't bought it yet. Instead of it, I have a magnetic decal, but the car is exactly the same as the car I'm driving. And the basic idea, it's equipped with 4K resolution cameras, and that's how I get the video feeds that the Spy Hell pipeline processes. to detect, to fit the behavioral models and the facial recognition models and all that. And of course, I joined those feeds with spectrometer readings and with GPS coordinates, with precise coordinates where the steel was taken. And those are the inputs to the system, plus the geo-index that I captured from Elon Musk. So it's a nuclear bomb on wheels. And it's actually armored. If they shoot me, if they try to shoot at me, the vehicle has a very high, I'm not going to say which degree of armoring it has, but it has a very high degree of armoring. It can sustain a lot of fire. So that's what I'm driving. So those videos, I'm posting them in this channel, raw, unprocessed, uncut. So law enforcement can get them, right, quickly. And I'm posting them I try to post them the same day that they're taken. I started doing this like a week ago, so there are not many yet, but there will be more. And also agents can see that their faces are captured, right? Like you can see this one on the upper left corner, like the face is visible, right? And the plates and everything, right? And where like this, the earthquake management data bomb incident. Yeah. And so this is my other audience, right? So the agents themselves. So they understand that if you commit these crimes, now there's technology to catch you. And these are serious crimes. It's not crimes against Ronaldo Aguiar. And that's another thing that I would like them to understand is that they're not committing a crime against me. They're committing a crime against the country. It is a crime against the country to spy for a foreign nation. And they may think that they're committing a crime against me, but I don't matter in this, right? It's the country what matters. And that's what they don't seem to get, that they're committing really a crime against the nation, which of course has severe penalties, right? More than if the crime was against me. So this is my other audience. So anyhow, I compile all this information, right, in these channels and in other places. But in the main channel, which I call the main channel, which is rapid fire tips for law enforcement, I put important links in these sections where it says, let's see. Yeah, where it says 13 more links. So if you open this, the first link is the link to the other channel intended for citizens that I described before. The second link is this link over here, I think. I'll open it. I'll open it in another window. If you click on that second link that says Investigative Archive, it's going to take you to this other window. That it's basically the archive, the investigative archive. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time looking at how the archive is structured. Okay, the main archive itself is in this folder that is called Notable Posts. Okay, and the folder itself, I have a sorting system, and this is what I was describing before, that I cataloged all this information in a way that it's very easy to parse and to understand the hierarchy of the importance of the documents and the media that is stored in this archive. So if you sort by name, so the format is basically every folder is prefixed with a 3 or 2 digits number. And then there's 2 underscores. And then there's a title where the spaces have been replaced by dashes. Okay. So the idea is that we're able to sort lexicographically the folders. And the folders that come first, if you sort them lexicographically from A to Z, those folders are more important, right? And that's achieved by the prefix. These folders that have the 3 digits prefix are more important to the world. This is important to say. The criteria of importance here that I'm applying is not importance to Ronaldo Aguiar. What is important to me, it doesn't matter. The criteria here is what is important to the free world, right? And to the enslaved countries. That's the criteria. So there are these folders that have 3 digits, that are like maybe 10 of them, are very important, right? So these things talk about things like the shadow government or the Wuhan Institute of Virology or legal communications or things like that. Within legal communications, and this is important, there is a folder that contains all the forms 211 and the freedom of information requests that I filed and some letters that I've sent to different entities, the Congress, Attorney Generals, things like that, when I requested the POW status. But let's concentrate on the Form 211s. So here are the Form 211s that were sent, all of them. And you could sort them by date when they were sent. Oh no, this is when I copied them to this folder, sorry. But you can extract that metadata from the file. Anyhow, every file has a hash number, which is an FBI hash that I created to make sure that it didn't tamper with the forms, right? And I explain to the FBI, if I ever get to meet with them, how the hash works. But I'm saying all this because all these Form 211s that are here, if you download them, these are forms that were sent to the IRS, and some of them I copied to the FBI as well. Like the master one, for example, I sent it to the FBI. But all these are forms, and in each form, there are many entities being reported. Some forms contain 10 entities, some forms contain 50,000 entities. There's a lot of entities here. There's probably more than 1 million entities being reported to the IRS, all in all. And to give an idea, I have some models that I ran, that I created, to estimate what is the seizable amount of assets concentrated in this. And of course, like how I define a seizable asset, it's really a very loose concept. And I'm not an investigative agency, or I have no way to decide what's seizable or not. It's just a model, right? It's just a predictive model. But to give an idea of the scale of this, my models believe that the amount of seizable assets in this contain only in these forms. There are entities that I haven't reported yet, but only in this form. And these are only entities that have seizable assets in the US, right? So only within that very constrained scope, my models believe that the amount of seizable assets are about 6.85 billion, with Kias in Tango, $1 trillion, okay? That's more or less the scale of what's seizable. According to my models, could be wrong. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but it's in the trillions of dollars, right? Now, all the forms are here. I'm mentioning this because, remember, when I sent these forms, many of them, not all of them, but many of them, it was during a time where I was in prison. There's no way to put it. I was in prison in Lake Point Estates because I knew that if I stepped a foot outside of my house, it would harm me. So the way I was sending the forms is that I would ask my former partner, Gloria, to take them to the USPS office and send them via registered mail, okay? Then she would come back and she would give me the receipt, and I have all the receipts and all the FBI hash numbers that I put on the envelopes. So that's the way I was sending them. I'm mentioning this because it's obvious to me at this point that they use this pattern where they block the enforcement of the law or justice by blocking things at the receipt, at the gatekeeper, like the same thing they did with the clerk, or they did with the. So it occurred to me that maybe somehow they stopped those forms from going out or from being actually processed at the IRS. So I'm mentioning this because if that's the case, I implore the authorities, please take them from this archive and process them, right? We should not let them use their techniques to blocking and obstructing justice to win, right? To avoid the seizure of their assets. I mean, that would be allowing them to win. So I invite agencies to that. If they did that, you can always get the forms, all of them, from this folder. That's why I'm mentioning this. Okay, but going back, so if you go to notable posts, so that's basically the sorting criteria with the numbers, right? And then the rest of the players are sorted by, at the top, they're like people that could hold key pieces of proof are placed at the top. Like, for example, Sergey Brin from Google, right? He's placed at the top. And then we have groups of people, right? Like this, the President's Club, the Celebrities Club. I'm yet to make a video about the celebrities. Say now, there's a group of very important celebrities that move masses that are part of this network. Their houses and properties are marked in the index. And if you click on this, you will see some prominent ones, right? Yeah, Shakira, for example, or Messi, the soccer player. BJ Novak, like there are many, Kid Rock. Anyhow, so in the sorting criteria, you will see, talking about the sorting criteria, you will see that after prominent people that could, or prominent people, organizations that could hold key pieces of evidence or could become key pieces of evidence, then you will see groups of people. And then after that, you will see things related to industries like energy, or what's the but like entire conglomerate of companies or organizations like banking and investment, energy, royal families, immigration, medical topic. Yeah, so these are more like conglomerates of, or groups of organizations, I would put it that way. And then you will see things that are more related to things like crypto, insurance, mortgages, things like that. And then you will see some things about technology that they use and some projects that I've done. But the interesting thing is when you get to number 20, more or less. Then you see countries, right? So these are things that are specific to countries like Canada, the European Union, France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan. Proton VPN, I put it as a country because like the amount of espionage you're doing, right? Using Proton VPN is so vast and so widespread that it won a placement as a country, basically. So after you get past the countries, then you start seeing companies on number 50 and up, right? So these are prominent companies that are under control of this network. And again, the lower the number in the prefix, the more important the company is to the network and for the free world and the enslaved world to handle those companies or manage those companies. And when you get to a point about a point 60, about the number 60, then you start seeing prominent agents, the Phil Denning, the Demon Sachs, the Eckhart, the Scott Weinstein, things like that, people that are prominent, the Kilpatricks, right? You'll see those. And then when you get to the numbers 80 and such, then you see individual agents that maybe are not that important to the free world in terms of bringing these agents to justice wouldn't really make a big difference to the free world, right? Or to the enslaved world. But they're important, and that's why they're in the archive, because they were used to personally attack me or steal information from me or surveil me, and they could become, if they're flipped or if they cooperate with authorities, they could hold tremendous probatory value for the prosecutors that I'm hoping that someday work on this. So that's why they're in the archive, and that's why they're not up in the numeric scale, meaning they don't have a low number, because they were important to me but not to the world. So I guess this shows that I'm being consistent with my methodology here. And of course, the lower the number, prefixing the name of the agent means the agent is more important. Okay. So there's 386 folders split this way, and in each folder there's PDF documents, photos, and things like that. And inside each folder, there could be other subfolders, and they're sorted with the same criteria. Folders prefixed with a lower number means that they're more important regarding that agent or that company or that organization. So this is how the archive works. And as I said before, my goal by doing all this and putting all this thought and engineering really into this is to shorten the timeline for investigators as much as possible, right? So justice can be served, because delaying justice for all these people, not for Rinaldo Aguiar, but for they're targeting thousands of people in the same way that they're targeting me, and they've killed millions of people. Delaying justice for all these people that they've targeted is just another form of abuse. My call to authorities is that, I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope that justice comes, and not only comes, but comes quickly for all of us. So that's that. So I'm gonna now switch to my other window. We're talking about the links, okay? So so we talk about the Citizens Channel, which is a Spy Hell official, the Investigative Archive, and this one that holds the evidence. So these are the journal entries that I've been writing, and it has a lot of interesting links at the top. Again, the links are sorted in a way that the most important links are placed at the top, and the less important links are placed at the bottom. This RICO notice is important. This is a notice that I sent to them, to all these people, right? The ones that I had the emails, I sent them using the core system. This is one that I was using for the experiments I described in my previous video. On page 32, I think, 31, is where the actual notice actually starts. The first 30 pages are the names of the people being served with the notice. So when I sent it, the envelope didn't really get filed. That's what I was looking for in the previous demo. It was submitted, reviewed, but it didn't get filed. But the notices did go out because the company, Tyler, confirmed to me that Phil Denning got his notice and some other people got their notices. So the notices via email did get out. So they did get it. They did get them. But the clerk did not file with the court, really, in the record, in the legal record, the notices. Anyhow, here's the notice. Basically, I did this very systematically, right? So I approached the notice, and I wrote this myself, acting pro se. Basically, I was very very straightforward about the gravity of the crimes that the network is committing, and I approached this as giving information to the agents of what they could be being mixed into by this network without them even knowing, maybe. And then I created this. I gave them this table stating the actual paragraphs in the law, in the penal code, and federal and Texas, and giving them an idea of what is the penalty for each count. So they have an idea. Some of them carry life sentences, could carry life sentences. So they get an idea of the gravity of the situation, legal situation. And then I also made a call to action. If you are in possession of information that is relevant to these crimes of this network, these specific crimes, you are obligated to tell the FBI. And I gave them a link to all the field offices so they could contact the FBI. My hope is that some of them took action. I don't have a way to measure the conversion rate of this, but if some of them did take action, it could have been a tremendous move towards getting justice for everybody. So I don't know. I hope someday I can know what was the conversion rate of that. And I signed it, and this was sent on or around. I signed it on May 5, but with the back and forth with the clerk and all that, I think it actually went out like on the 9th or the 10th or something like May. Marcelo was already kidnapped at that point. And in fact, that's mentioned in the notice. But anyhow, so this page that it talks about evidence that is linked on the main channel, it has all the journal entries, right? Not all. So let me explain that. Before I explain that, this quote, I put in this quote, and I do it very intentionally. And I think this is more true now than ever. This was something that was said by Sir Winston Churchill on 1940. Imagine that, 85 years ago. Yeah, 85 years ago. And he said, victory at all costs, victory in spite of all terror. Victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory, there is no survival. This is the reason why I fight, because I know that if we don't win this, none of us will survive. Like in 2 generations, we'll all be subjects of the Xi Jinping dynasty. And I'm not exaggerating here. What I wanted to show you is in this part, right? So basically, it has a heading that lists the most prominent members and how they're split by teams. They have teams where basically each one of the presidents is teamed up with a billionaire in the US. And that's how they, basically the front man for the president. That's how they structure it. That split is detailed here. And there's this also, if you open this page, and by the way, like this page is translated into all these languages, right? I think the Korean link is wrong. I have to fix it, but right now it says KR. I will replace it by K, which is also a code. But anyhow, if you scroll down after the heading, right? So there is a heading, and then after the heading, it gives you the option with this link to switch to all journal entries. So basically, if you click on this, you will see all the entries without any picking or anything. And there are a lot of entries in here. But if you, by default, I only show you what I picked, what I believe are the most important, but I'd be wrong. I could be wrong. Like law enforcement should really parse all the entries and see, probably there's things that I thought could be important, and maybe they are not. And there are things definitely that I didn't pick up as important, and maybe they are, right? So I encourage law enforcement agencies of all over the world to check all the journal entries. And the other thing is that, because this battle evolved over time, right? At the beginning, 4 years ago, I was working on a website called Counterintelligence.com, which is the basis of the technology that I'm using to detect these spies. And so I started posting information in that website. But then at some point, I realized this is so big, it goes beyond industrial espionage. So then when I created spyhell.org, basically after I captured Elon Musk in this, and I could see the truth with my own eyes, then I created this other domain, right? But if you go to keyopinionleaders.com, there's also a lot of entries there that are not in spyhell.org in any of the 2 modes of reading. So I also recommend, this is an early version, right? Yeah, so there's some entries in these little windows here at the corner. And then if you, yeah, so I'll make those available in a more consumable form, but just mentioning that there's also some other information in here. But it was mostly produced before I captured the UA index, or until I captured it just a few days after. That's basically the cutoff of this. Okay, but going back to the links, and then I created this set of videos that are more tailored towards law enforcement. Videos made with AI, so I could scale it and translate them. But I create these playlists that are basically tailored to specific countries. For example, you use UK and Canada because they speak English. If you click on this, you will get all the videos in English, and they're sorted in a way that I believe makes sense. But again, law enforcement have a different opinion about relative importance of the videos. And if you click on this, for example, then you will see them in German, in Dutch. And if you click on, let's make an example. Oh, I missed Korean. I have to add it. Yeah, Korean is not here. I'll add it today. If you click on Chinese, on China, then you'll see all the videos in Chinese, and the audio is in Chinese as well. So this is a way to disseminate the information globally, really, because this, as I said before, this is a global problem, and it requires a global solution. And also here, you have the link to the Call Mobile Raw channel, which is the one that has the videos of the raw videos of the cameras. And then this link, it's a link to a folder in my personal Google Drive that I created that has two things, right? It has the raw videos for the two channels, but in the rapid fire tips, you will also find some things that could be probatory, right? Like, for example, if you click on rapid fire tips, 01, Diosdado Cabello, and then kidnappings, and then Marcelo, you will see this, right? This is a photo. It was sent to me by my former partner. So she basically sent me a photo of my son, Marcelo, on Father's Day at the daycare. And they had this thing set up to take pictures. And then she sends me a picture of him with the father's chair, empty. I don't know. I don't know if it's a meta message from Diosdado. And if it is, I don't blame her. I know, and I discussed this in another video before, like I have the military registration card for my former partner in the Venezuelan army. I know she's an officer in the Venezuelan army, and officers follow orders. So if Diosdado Cabello, who is really the president and is a military figure in Venezuela, gives the order to send this picture, she has to follow the orders. It's hard not to take it personally, but I think I'm doing a good job at that. I understand the way I process it is by understanding that she's following orders. So I think the person that should be held responsible is the person giving the orders, right? Anyhow, there's also a note here about the kidnapping attempt at Clear Channel Outdoor. It was a very significant incident. And in the same day, and the videos are in YouTube, and this is the person that attempted to kidnap me, and he was following me, tracking ahead. But anyhow, in that day, I also visited this pilot's house, Donald W. Delahanty, in Houston. And there's a lot of information, and maybe it is here, but one interesting thing I want to mention very is that this pilot works for a company, or it's a prominent pilot, a prominent player in a company that also operates planes for the private planes for the Venezuelan government in Venezuela. And one of those planes was seized already by US authorities years ago. And this pilot is marking the index, has the surveillance cars parked outside of his house, Moscow style. It has all the points. If you have a checklist of what a spy should have, he has all the things in the checklist. And he has direct ties to the Venezuelan government, right? So he could be probatory in a way, right? He could hold things of probatory value, is what I'm trying to say. So that's why he's also there. And also now that we're here, let's talk about, persistent agents that I've seen in the last week, right? I'm going to go through this very quickly. So this agent over here, he's been consistently following me at Walmart. This specific Walmart located, I think the address is, the one on FM 1093 and FM 1463. This number is wrong. It's FM 1463. He's always tracking me at Walmart, right? Multiple occasions, I think 3 days, different locations. And here you can see his face, man. Oh, sorry. Lost it by mistake. Okay. This other one was like basically in a holding pattern at the pain relief section of Walmart. And this is another thing that I noticed in terms of changing patterns, right? So before, what they would do, they would have people following me through the store in different small legs. What that means is that somebody could be following me, tracking ahead, like walking ahead of me, looking at the MAC address of my phone or visually. And then to not make it obvious, that person would take a different route when I make a turn, but then another person would be in that area and then they would be following me, tracking ahead. And that's how they do it. So it's not that obvious. But in the last week, they changed the tactic because obviously the system can't pick them up because I have the camera, right? And the footage of the camera gets processed by the system. So what they're doing now is that they're stationing agents statically, right? The agents don't move. For example, that guy with the green t-shirt, he was in that exact spot for 20 minutes. All the time I was in the store, he was there. And he didn't move until he saw that I was ready to check out. So what they're doing, they're stationing people in these specific areas in the store, and then they don't move, right? I think it's to reduce liability or to create plausibility, explainability of this. Like, he's not following you. He's just taking a long time to decide what to buy. Right? I think that's the idea. But this is very telling as well, because the points where they're stationing these static agents are very specific. It's always identified like 4. It's always the medications, like the pharmacy section, right? The detergents, where the detergents to wash your clothes are located, they always have one stationary agent there. The food section, of course, where you buy things like cereal or juice or sodas or things that you drink mostly, or sauce for your pasta sauce. And I guess the idea is, right, if you want to insert something harmful, it's something that has to be diluted in something that is liquid or almost liquid, like pasta sauce or a soda or juice, orange juice, for example. And this, yeah, so it's always pharmacy, food and drinks, especially detergents for where you buy like detergent for your clothes, and the candies, because I have to say that's one of my weaknesses with West. I cannot eat candy anymore because I know they're going to try to poison me with the candies. They always have somebody. I like candy a lot. Like, I have a sweet tooth. What can I say? So they know this, right? And now they have always somebody at the candy aisle looking which candy specifically I'm buying, right? So I see it as a dangerous situation. So I can't even eat candy anymore. On the good side, I think that's it's not really a healthy habit, so it's probably a good thing, right? They're doing me a favor, and they're keeping me healthy by doing that, and I'll live longer because of what they're doing. So yeah, so those are the areas, and I think that's very telling, because the fact that they're stationing the agents, and the electronics, of course, in case I buy another card reader or something so they can then break into my car and steal it, the YubiKey. But anyhow, this is a funny reference to the YubiKey incident. There is a video posted on YouTube about this. It's not funny, really. They stole something that was important to me, a YubiKey. But what's done is done. They have this agency station there, right? So I think this is very telling that they pick this specific section, because that tells us what is important to them. The electronics, because to see what they can steal or when they can steal it. And also the medications, because they do tamper with the medications, as the Kroger pharmacy man, right? They're looking for an opening to tamper with my medication. Like, for example, if I go and buy a pain reliever, they will know that my back pain came back. And then they will be prepared in a position to switch a pain medication or to do something with the doctor if I go consult the doctor. Then the foods and drinks section, because of the microplastics. And the detergents, that I don't know. I'll ask my informant. I have an informant in the Venezuelan army. He's pretty good. Maybe he'll tell me. But I imagine they have a way. And maybe I imagine law enforcement or intelligence officers of the free world, they may probably know if there is a way to harm somebody with a detergent. I imagine there is, because otherwise, why are they stationing the? I don't know the mechanism really. I don't know if maybe they put asbestos into that occurs to me, right? Like maybe putting asbestos into the detergent. So you wash your clothes and then you're wearing these clothes contaminated with asbestos all day. That probably will give you cancer. But I'm guessing law enforcement, I'm not going to speculate, but probably law enforcement will know, right? How could they harm somebody with a detergent? But there seems to be a way, because this is very consistent. There's always somebody, like that guy that was following me, tracking ahead in the previous picture. He was in the detergent section in their station. And I think even if they don't know, right, why they're being stationed in there, and this is more a question for a lawyer. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But would they be liable for trying to harm me if that's the mechanism they're using or planning to use? And these people, would this guy wearing this green t-shirt stationed there to see what medication I buy would be legally liable if they harm me with a medication? I don't know the answer to that. Okay, so that's that. Oh, and now we have this winner. This one is a real trooper, right? She's followed me multiple times before over the last month, right? In this occasion, I was at Walmart, not only Walmart, with the car as well. She followed me in different places. But at this time, I was at Walmart, and right when I was going to pay, and I went to the first cashier, immediately a bunch of people got in line before me, right? So I understood what they do. I've seen this many times. What they do with that is that they coordinate agents if they want to keep you in the store to intercept your phone or whatever, right? Or because they're breaking into your car outside and they don't want you to come out yet. So they put a lot of people in the cashier, so you have to wait, and there's only one or two cashiers, right? So they did that. When they did that, I saw that there was another cashier open, and I ran to the other one. As I was running, this woman came from an aisle from nowhere, running literally, tried to get before me, right, to block me at the cashier as well. But I outran her, and she couldn't do it. So I won that race. But she's a trooper, right? And then she did the thing after on that the gas station where they, the gas station manipulation trick that I described in one of the videos. And then also one thing that I've noticed, and this might be important, this Walmart and the Walmart that is on 99 with FM 1093, Bellaterra, it's called, that shopping mall. There's a Walmart supercenter there. These two Walmarts I visited recently, right? One of them, the day of the YubiKey incident. And I've noticed that both Walmarts removed all the security cameras from their parking lot. All of them. There are no security cameras. Like before, these two Walmarts used to have their big electricity poles, like a street lighting poles, very tall, right? And in those very tall poles, they had a network of cameras, like very high-end cameras. Like I'm talking about 2 years ago. And the last two times that I've gone to those two Walmarts, because I'm looking at the cameras, I try to park the car near a camera. So if they break into the car, there's a record, right? How they did it and how they blocked the view and all that. So I noticed that the cameras are gone. And remember, I don't know if viewers would remember, but I saw a similar pattern at the school that is located next to the, actually, let me give you the actual address because this might be important, right? So this is my house, right? Where I'm recording this video. And let me see, what is it? Okay, here. In this, so here's the HEB, where there's been multiple incidents in that HEB. It's under the control of the network, of course. This Park Lane full share apartments is where Marcelo is being held at this point, right? He's somewhere in this corner over here, near 29.71916 minus 95.85150. And then there's this high school called Jordan High School, that's the name. And this school has a high paramilitary score and everything. And there was a series of incidents like 2 years ago where I was running on this court with Penelope Suarez. And there were a lot of incidents here. Like they brought all sorts of agents. And I understand now that she brought me there because of that, to make it easier for them to spy on me. There was one incident in which I even captured a microphone, a listening microphone they had planted near the court, near the tennis court. And I have it. I have the physical microphone with me. So anyhow, in this parking lot, there were a lot of security cameras like the ones I'm describing that were in the Walmarts, right? And there was one incident in which I parked the Coal Mobile more or less around here, 29.72305 minus 95.85335, 85535. And immediately a group of students and a teacher came and they surrounded the Coal Mobile. And that was, of course, I understand now. I hadn't captured the index yet at that point, and I didn't know this. But now that I have the index, I understand. This school is a hub, and that teacher is an agent, and she did that on purpose, right, to harass me or to. Anyhow, I stopped doing exercises, and I went and recovered the Coal Mobile and moved it to this other part, around 29.722275 and minus 95.85716. Anyhow, in that occasion, I noticed that there were cameras, right? And then I started parking the car right underneath the cameras. But within 2 weeks, they removed the cameras from the entire parking lots, the two parking lots that you can see here. That tells me that the person that controls the cameras is part of the network, right? And has control and power to remove the cameras. And now I'm seeing the same pattern with the Walmarts. These two Walmarts, they used to have a lot of security cameras in the parking lot, but because they know that I have technology to detect the agents and all that, and they're likely to commit crimes, right? Like in those parking lots. Like, for example, if the YubiKey, for example, right? It might have been stolen in that parking lot at Walmart, but there's no cameras. There's no way for me to prove it, right? So it's just a way to give agents impunity, right? And so they feel more comfortable to commit crimes, what we're talking about at the beginning. But the thing is that I think it shows coordination with the company itself. Who can remove the security cameras from the parking lot at two Walmarts, right? It has to have a complicity from the company. Diosdado Cable has a way to remove those cameras at Walmart. That's what it means. So that's why I always mention that. Anyhow, so going back to another thing I wanted to mention, I put in this folder obstruction of justice, right? And here I put the rejected envelope that I described that the clerk rejected, right? Where I was trying to get my exhibits into the legal record. But I put it here, right? And you can see it here. There is so what I added in my exhibits, which is why they want to settle the case now, right? Like now they want mediation, and they want to do this in mediation so things keep quiet. I submitted this affidavit that time, got rejected, but I'm putting it here so the FBI can get it, in which I basically added a transcript of a demo I gave explaining how the GeoIndex works, and even a video of that demo, okay? And I did this under oath. And then a patent authored by me with the United States Patents Office. It's attributed to Google. It's a Google patent, okay? But I'm the sole inventor named in the patent. And this patent is about building social graphs based on contact information or expanding them. And this is relevant to this because this patent shows that I have the know-how how to understand these connections in a network of people. And to the point that I'm named as the sole inventor of one of these patents, and not just any patent, it's a Google patent, right? And the reason why I attached that as an exhibit is because Morgan Hagner is alleging that I'm crazy, right? That I'm delusional and that I'm hallucinating somehow. But, you know, what I'm trying to say with this exhibit is that I'm not crazy. I know what I'm talking about. Like I have technical expertise, and in some circles, I could even be considered an expert on this field. Not a top expert, but somehow an expert. And the fact that they don't understand the technical aspects of it doesn't mean I'm crazy, right? That's my argument. And they're asking for a psychiatric evaluation. And my argument is the fact that they don't understand the technicalities of the system doesn't mean I'm crazy. The question is not for a psychiatrist, really. The question is for an FBI team to look at this and determine if what I'm seeing is real or not, right? And that's the people that are qualified to make that call, not a psychiatrist. And so that's why I attached them the patent. The third item I attached was the entire class action lawsuit against Elon Musk, Travis Kalanick, David Hein, the lawyer, James Casey from Akamai, and Wilmer Ruperti, the partner or the bizarre ambassador of Diosdado Cabello. And the other thing that I attached was the military card of my former partner. Is here. The date was actually 1997. Imagine that, almost 30 years. And by the way, she said, no, maybe when I asked her, like, are you a military officer? And she said, no, I did that because there was a requirement for me to graduate. But that is not true because she graduated in 2002, I think, or 2001. And this is dated 1997. I don't know, after she started university. So it was not a graduation requirement, not for high school and not for the university. That's not true. Anyhow, that is also here. And this is why I was saying that I believe she's following orders from Diosdado Cable. And as a military officer, if your commander in chief tells you to do something, you do it, right? That's the way the military world works. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so I created this Twitter account, which is Rinaldo, my name, J, my middle name initial, Aguiar, my last name. And then I have this, I created this tweet, and I basically tweeted Elon. My informant told me a long time ago, Elon had been put out of circulation. I don't know if that was true or not, but maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, in this tweet, I basically tried to be funny with him, right? And then tell him, hey, we'll see you soon, right? And put a link to this video, which is an imitation, right, of these epic rap battles of history series that exist on the internet, very famous. So I created a version of that with AI. What I was trying really was not to copy their concept. I was trying to get them to make a real video, right? So I created this kind of a mock video using AI and shared it with them, hoping that they would pick up on the idea, right, and create a video and use it on their platform and expose it that way to millions of people, right? So I'm trying to get this information exposure, basically. And I think humor is usually a way that works because humor is a good emotion and it's contagious, right? That's why I created that tweet. All this to say, if you come across this information, please look up that tweet and consider retweeting it. I think that's the biggest way you could help. Thank you so much for your time, and till the next one, which is going to be a continuation of this one, but it's going to talk about a more global scope topic. Thank you.